So friends, it looks like Donald Trump is about this close to getting ejected, removed, kicked out of his own trial. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, the way Donald Trump is beclowning himself in federal court in New York during the second Carroll defamation trial, I think a fair question to ask is this: is Donald Trump unwilling to behave civilly, or is Donald Trump unable to behave civilly? Unwilling or unable to abide by judicial warnings, judicial admonitions, court orders. Here is some of the new reporting about how Donald Trump played the fool again today in court. This from the Washington Post. Headline: Judge threatens to throw Trump out of Carroll defamation trial. And that article begins: a federal judge threatened to throw Donald Trump out of court Wednesday after the former president defied an order to keep quiet during writer Carroll's testimony at his defamation trial, which resulted in Trump becoming combative with the judge. U.S. District Court Judge Louis Kaplan addressed Trump after being told for the second time by Carroll's lawyers that Trump, seated at the defense table, was denigrating Carroll loudly enough for the 9-member jury to have heard it. Trump had already received one warning from Kaplan, an official court order. Quote, "Mr. Trump, I hope I don't have to consider excluding you from the trial," Judge Kaplan said before a midday break. While Trump has a right to be there, the judge said that right can be forfeited if he is disruptive. Trump threw his hands up in an animated show of disapproval. "I would love it, I would love it," Trump said. Kaplan said that Trump appeared unable to control himself. "You can't either," Trump said. Not sure if Donald Trump added, "I'm rubber, you're glue, and anything you say bounces off me and sticks back to you." Stay tuned for that. The article continues. Carroll, a writer and advice columnist, told the jury on Wednesday that Trump's attacks on her credibility beginning in 2019, after she publicly accused him of a long-ago sexual assault, continue to harm her professionally and put her in fear for her safety. So friends, can we go back for just a minute to the exchange between defendant Trump and Judge Kaplan? This from Judge Kaplan: "Mr. Trump has the right to be present here, but that right can be forfeited, and it can be forfeited if he is disruptive and if he disregards court orders. Mr. Trump, I hope I don't have to consider excluding you from the trial." Trump threw his hands up in the air and responds, "I would love it." Judge Kaplan: "I know you would. You just can't control yourself in this circumstance." And you heard from the Washington Post reporting that Trump barked back at the judge, "You can't either." So friends, let's talk about what happens when a defendant keeps disrupting a trial. First of all, judges have wide latitude, broad discretion to control their courtroom and to control the proceedings. Ordinarily, what the judge will do if a defendant is disruptive, blurting things out or mumbling in a way that the jury can hear what he's saying, the judge will give the defendant a warning, a very pointed warning. Why? Because the judge needs to put the defendant on notice of the consequences should he decide to continue to disrupt the proceedings. And if the defendant continues to disrupt the proceedings, the judge can order the defendant removed from his own trial. It can certainly be done in a civil case, and it can also be done in a criminal case where, the standard is a little bit higher because somebody's liberty is at stake. In a criminal case, it's just about money. In a civil case, but a judge can order a defendant removed, even from his own criminal case, if he or she is acting up in violation of the warnings and the admonitions the court has given the defendant. And 10 times out of 10, that kind of a decision by a judge to remove a disruptive defendant after he refused to abide by a judicial warning, that will be affirmed on appeal 10 times out of 10, because the appellate court will give the trial court judge wide latitude to control the proceedings. And friends, can I tell you a quick story, an interesting story, a true story about a disruptive defendant that I had to deal with when I was prosecuting cases? One of the RICO trials that I prosecuted, it was a 6 co-defendant case, had one defendant in particular who was extremely disruptive. He kept blurting things out that the jury could hear. He would actually yell at the witnesses at times when he disagreed with them. Kind of sounds like somebody we know, doesn't it? And the judge would admonish him, the judge would caution him, the judge would warn him, the judge would order him to stop the outbursts, stop the disruptions, but he wouldn't. He was on trial for his liberty, and he was facing a sentence of up to life in prison without the possibility of release, and the judge was loath to remove him from his own criminal trial. So the judge took an incremental step. This is going to sound like something you would see on TV, but this is exactly what happened. One morning, after the defendant had again disrupted the proceedings the day before, the judge walked out onto the bench, and in his hand he held a roll of duct tape. And he said, "Mr. Defendant, you have been unwilling or unable to abide by my warnings, my admonitions, my prohibitions. Here's what we're going to do today. One more disruption, and I'm going to order the U.S. Marshals to take this roll of duct tape and to tape your mouth shut. Mind you, I am authorized to eject you from your own trial because you continue to disrupt the proceedings, but I find that to be an extreme measure. So I'm going to take a middle ground. I'm going to order your mouth duct taped, and I'm going to let you continue to attend your own trial. Do you understand?" The defendant said he understood, and he didn't disrupt the proceedings again. And the judge did not have to order his mouth to be duct taped. Just one example, a real-world example of how that judge handled a disruptive defendant. Let me finish with this, friends. Why do you think Donald Trump said, "I would love it," when the judge said, "You realize I can eject you from your own trial if you continue to disrupt the proceedings"? Donald Trump said, "I'd love it, I'd love it." You know why? Because the first thing he would do is send a fundraising email, continuing to grift his supporters, saying something along the lines of, "A very unfair judge won't even let me defend myself. He removed me from my own trial. This is the deep state at work. This is crooked Joe Biden. This is this person's fault and that person's fault." No, it's your fault, Donald, because you behave like a child with apologies to children. So at this point, Judge Kaplan has given Donald Trump, it looks like, 2 strikes. This is not a game where, you need 3 strikes before you're out. If you disrupt the proceedings and the judge instructs you not to, and you disrupt the proceedings again, the judge is well within his or her authority to remove you from the courtroom. But Judge Kaplan hasn't done that yet. It looks like he's going to give Donald Trump a full at-bat, give him all 3 strikes. But stay tuned, because 1, we know Donald Trump is either unwilling or unable or both to control himself, to act civilly in a court of law or anywhere else. So we already know Donald Trump is going to disrupt the proceedings again. And when he does, keep an eye on Judge Kaplan, because he's going to act well within his discretion, and he's going to address the disruption by Donald Trump. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.